After months of negotiations, you have reached an initial agreement. Tell us more about that and what was going on behind the closed-door talks, especially in Lausanne.
The negotiations were an attempt to address two objectives. One objective was to ensure that Iran's nuclear program will always remain peaceful. And the second objective was to remove the sanctions. And from our perspective, both objectives were reasonable because Iran never intended to produce nuclear weapons anyway, and it was okay for us to move in that direction. And sanctions had not helped anybody throughout this process. It was important for us to be able to move with these two objectives, and we tried. It was difficult at times because some of our Western friends and negotiating partners had come to believe that sanctions were an asset, were something that they should not relinquish so easily. And that made it very difficult. Tough moments were also there because of different interpretations on various aspects of the final settlement. But we were able to focus on all the solutions to all the problems that existed. Now we start the difficult path of negotiating and writing the final agreement. That will take a lot of time, a lot of effort. But I think the political decisions have already been made. Now it's up to us and our colleagues, the more technical parts of the deal, to be drafted.
After 18 months of negotiations, the sanctions are still the main and major problem. How do you think you can solve this problem during the 3 months until the end of June?
We're not talking about phased removal of sanctions. Unfortunately, the United States started talking about the phased suspension of sanctions. And if you go through the joint statement, you will not even see the word suspension, and you will not see a word phased. It's clear that all sanctions, all economic and financial sanctions, will be terminated. On the day that we agree, we will go to the Security Council, and the Security Council will adopt a resolution which will terminate all the previous resolutions and will set the stage for termination of all sanctions. This is very clear. There won't be phased, there won't be suspensions. It is very clear in the agreement that we announced.
But the Lausanne statement did not mention any timetable for the lifting of sanctions.
No, the time is very clear because we have had this agreement that we will take measures for irreversible measures by Iran, for irreversible measures by the United States, EU, and the UN Security Council. You see, the point is, last time we had no fact sheet when we had the agreement in November in Geneva. And what we produced on the Iranian side was the actual document. The United States, for their own domestic reasons, and that may be, that's their right and their prerogative, produced a fact sheet, which was not exactly what we adopted. So the best way for all of us is to stop fighting over this, to negotiate, and once the final agreement is reached, to make the final agreement available to the public.
But now Iranian MPs have asked for the Iranian version of the fact sheet to be published as well. Why didn't you publish the details yet?
Well, we have actually, I went on Iranian television. I had a 2.5-hour interview on Iranian television, and I explained the entire thing. My colleague, Dr. Salehi, the head of the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization, also went on Iranian television and explained the entire process. So we have nothing to hide. We are not in the business of putting a spin on what we agreed. So I believe once the agreement is reached, because now we need to write, to draft, and to reach an agreement on the draft, actually. We've said from the beginning that we need to choose the path. We can have the path of confrontation, or we can have the path of cooperation. We cannot have a little bit of each. If we take the path of confrontation, the United States and the EU and the United Nations can continue with their sanctions, and we will continue with our enrichment program without any limitation.
I want to go back to my question. Why don't you want to publish the Iranian version of the fact sheet? Is it your tactic to reduce pressure from hardliners inside Iran?
We negotiate for national interest. We don't negotiate for political pressure groups. And I think the United States will be well advised to do the same. If we need to publish the fact sheet, we will publish the fact sheet. But I think the Iranian public know more about the facts now.
I would like to name some of the foreign ministers that have participated in the Iran negotiations, and I would like you to describe them in 1 or 2 words. Mr. Steinmeier.
Serious negotiator.
Laurent Fabius.
Again, serious negotiator.
The Chinese foreign minister.
A good friend and a serious negotiator.
The Russian foreign minister.
The same, a good friend and a serious negotiator.
And John Kerry.
A person who spent a lot of time on this, and again, a serious negotiator.
Let's talk about regional issues, and especially Yemen. The current situation in this country escalated the strategic differences between Iran and Saudi Arabia. How will it affect the future of this region?
Well, Yemen is not a theater for confrontation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Yemen has a problem. It has to be resolved by the people of Yemen, by various political groups in Yemen, and everybody who has influence in Yemen should help.
What do you think then when Mr. Lavrov says selling the S-300 anti-aircraft missiles to Iran is due to the Yemen situation?
Well, we had an agreement with Russia, a contract with Russia a long time ago to provide means for our air defense. These are not offensive weapons, these are defensive weapons that we had ordered a long time ago to Russia, and now they decided to honor their contractual commitment and deliver.
But before, their delivery was against the UN sanctions.
No, it was never against any UN sanctions. I think the Russian statement is very clear. They said that it never violated UN sanctions. For Iran, we don't recognize those sanctions. We consider them as illegal. We consider all sanctions as illegal and unjustified. But Russia made its own decisions, and any questions that exist should be addressed to Russia. We believe that the delay in providing these S-300 air defense systems was uncalled for, but we welcome the decision of Russia to live up to their contract.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It was good to be with you.